Hello and welcome to this episode 5 of the Fire and Ice podcast. I'm your co-host, Mark Partridge. I'm joined by my other co-host, Chris Adamson. How are you doing?
Very well, thank you, sir. Very well. How are we doing today? Excited for NFL Sunday?
Yeah, so it is week 10, I believe. It's currently the 12th of November, about 4:30. So the Colts are currently playing the Patriots in Germany. I don't know what the score is. Have you got it in front of you?
I do indeed. It is 7-6 to the Colts.
Low-scoring game.
Yeah, Taylor started really well, but it's the first drive was outstanding. Good fun to watch. Both Mac was playing well, Minshew was playing well, and both teams have stalled thereafter.
Yeah. Anyway, so today we are going to talk about Week 10 matchups, contender, pretenders, frauds, rebuilding teams, trade ideas, trade deadlines, all that sort of stuff. Hopefully less than 1 hour 50, which was the last podcast. It was a little bit long. I think Shane enjoyed it, but not many other people did. So we'll try and keep this to roughly an hour or just over. So the first matchup we're going to discuss is Tim versus Matt, which is quite an interesting matchup. The Ugly Cox versus Pop, Jock, and Lockett. I'll hand over to you.
Yeah, so it's quite an interesting matchup, this one, being the fact that we've basically got top of the table versus bottom of the table. I'm just trying to pull up now, but it always wants to be slow. So Tim up first, playing Matt. Tim's team's looking a lot stronger than I think people expect it to look at, isn't it?
Yeah.
I think there's a lot of kind of players in there that people weren't necessarily sold on. Obviously, I sold in Rachaad White, and he's been on fire recently. He took DeAndre Swift in the draft, and he's just been back to the Swift that I knew and loved. He's getting more than enough from his kind of aging receivers. And he's obviously got that. We thought he had that top tight end 1-2 punch. Waller hasn't really done it, but Kelsey's still there. And he's not really been hit by too many injuries either this season.
No, I don't think so. I'm trying to look down to see Jeff Wilson was out, but that wasn't really a biggie, was it? Darren Waller. No. To be fair, I think
his main guys have kept on going, which has been brilliant for him. Mostert has been outstanding. I've been really impressed with Mostert. I have to submit, I wasn't high on him, and I was wrong. I was one of those people that looked at Tim's team at the start of the season and thought it was kind of very middle of the pack. Might nick the odd win, but also could easily have a load of boys get injured in this game over very early. I've been wrong with that, and he's flying. I think is he still highest point scorer in the league, max PFF? I think he is. So that team's putting up some serious points, more so than I was expecting. He's going to dominate Matt this weekend, isn't he?
Yeah, you would have thought so. Justin Herbert's he throws the ball so much, he just gets so many touchdowns. But against Detroit, which should be points fest,
high scoring,
you'd be expecting 20 points there. Hopefully, Diggs gets the ball 15 times a game, and
we are getting to that point with Diggs that we found over numerous years, though he seems to tail off towards the end of the season. I don't know what it is. Both Keith and I have found it in the 3 years we've kind of had him. That's the one thing that would stay in my mind with Diggs. It seems to happen more often than not. Najee Harris as well. What do you feel about Najee? Obviously, I'm a big Warren guy. Always have been since he came out. Tim brought him in for a first, I believe. Pretty sure he brought him for a first. Yeah, I'm pretty sure he did.
That's crazy. I thought it was to do with Pierce and Matt, maybe, but could be wrong there.
I'm way off there. So yeah, Tim got it. Tim got Harris and my third, which obviously is relatively high, for Pierce. So actually, Pierce is fucking gash in my head. So actually not so bad. But Harris has not done much at all, really. I know he had a better week, didn't he, last week? But I do think he's not getting extended. I think he's got 1 year left on his contract. He won't get the extension, and I can see him going into the RB lost world in 2 years' time, where he's trying to get a free agent contract and struggling to get it.
Yeah, I don't think they're going to pick up the fifth option, are they? So he'll have another year next year. But when you look at the tape, I was really surprised how slow he looks.
Yeah.
In terms of like
It's a tugboat.
speed. Yeah,
Yeah.
speed, cutting. He looks so slow. And then
Yeah.
they give it to Warren, who's a little, geeky
Firecracker.
type guy.
Yeah.
He just looks way better. But this
Yeah.
year they sort of split snaps. So you would have thought Warren was going to take over, but it looks more like 50-50.
Well, he's starting to, isn't he? I think the big problem you've got with if you're a Harris owner or a Warren owner is that there's no draft capital in Warren at all. So they're kind of reluctant to do it, whereas there's a lot of draft capital in Harris. And it's that kind of changing of the guard season. We're starting to see it, from where we were at the end of last year to kind of the start of this season to where we are now. In my eyes, Warren's taken over, but again, that could be slightly biased.
Yeah. I think one thing to mention on Tim's team is he has had the easiest schedule of anyone. I know you mentioned he has put up the points, and that could be Moser obviously putting up 40 points or 30 points when he did those last couple of weeks where he just went absolutely crazy. But he has had the easiest schedule, and if other teams had his schedule, like I think I pointed out the other day, your team, you would have had 3 wins, which, for a team that's 0-8 seems absolutely crazy. So potentially Tim's team isn't as great as it looks on paper at 7-2. He could have just had a couple of easy matchups where he's put together 100, 105 points and beat someone who's scored like 90.
I don't think he's done that, though. I have to say, I think what he has done is he has put up the points. He's had an easy schedule, but he still has put up the points. And ultimately, that is what you've got to do. I'm a bit disappointed because I was hoping his first would be a bit more value than it is. But, all credit to him. I think he's proved quite a few of us wrong so far with that team. And I expect him to go and get the win against Matt this weekend. And obviously, then I'm looking at Matt's team. How do you feel about it? He's had some big moves recently, hasn't he? He's had some huge moves, taking JSN, taking Waddle, taking Jetters. He's had some big moves recently, some big, question marks over something. Some of those went under the radar and people didn't really call it. But fair play to him, he's done well. How do you feel about that squad?
He sort of went through a bit of a process of scrapping everything and going for the picks, looking like he was going for the tank. Then he picked up Jefferson, which was an insane move. Like he must have paid off Dan with babysitting or something, wouldn't he, on that one? But he's doing well there. Charbonnet's nice and young, who's still sat around, who will come through next year. It's a nice young team with the wide receiver core. It's probably going to be the best next year.
You'd think so, wouldn't you?
JSN, Waddle, and Jefferson are elite, but then you could sort of pick holes at QB. Jordan Love's not been what we expected this year. I think he's been a disappointment. Kenny Pickett looks a little bit worrying.
Recent trade, that one. Beef did not like that trade, did he?
He didn't. He kicked up an absolute stink. I was quite surprised. I thought
I was.
By the by, I wasn't really that fussed. It was a little bit in AP's favour, but I wasn't doubling the value. Actually, AP on that day offered me Pickett for Pacheco straight up, and I declined it. So if that's the value that I put on Pickett,
Pickett for Pacheco, Jesus, yeah.
I don't know what.
There was some wild Pickett offers. I think he offered me Pickett. What did he offer me? I told you what he offered me. He offered me. Put it up here. Phillips. He offered me Pickett and Pickett's Burks in a 2025 first for Javonte Williams and Trevor Lawrence.
No, that's awful.
Absolute comedy bloke.
Yeah, I mean, you have to be active in the trading space, and that's what Phillips did. He went out and he put Pickett out there, and he felt like he got value. Beef was there going, he's double the value. It's ridiculous. You got to be active. Go if you don't like a player, go send it out to people and see what you can get, and that's what he did. So,
in fact, that's a great comment. To be fair, because Beef was saying, he wishes people sent in those sorts of offers. Well, you get so little back, Beef. I'm afraid I've sent you stuff, and you get so little information back. It's like, well, I'm not going to bother. So maybe there's a learning there. I'm not a massive fan. You know my feelings on Gabe Davis. I think he's trash, and I potentially think that Pierce could be out of the league after next year. I think they go and bring in an RB. I don't think he's going to do it the rest of the season. They've got no draft capital in him. So realistically, Phillips has got, in my eyes, a first for Kenny Pickett. Do you mean like I think if anything, that's slightly in Matt's. That's slightly in. That's Phillips winning there. No, it's not even first. It's third. I think Matt wins.
Yeah, like I said,
A
Pierce
third. Third's nothing. Third's nothing. Pierce is out. Gabe Davis, I just don't believe in. Never have done. Never will do. So Matt's picking up a bang average quarterback who potentially could be out of the league. It's a bit of nothing for me, that trade, actually.
Yeah,
Bit of nothing.
I was the same, and I think Ollie commented and he said, starting QB has value. And
How long's he starting for?
Yeah, that's the thing. But yeah, but the rest of Matt's team, I think you can pick holes in the sort of QB space, running back space for next year. This year, Dave Montgomery is the guy. He's going to be there again next year. It's a 1-year deal, and Gibbs takes over. Algier will probably still be there. Maybe he hasn't really got a draft capital. Demarcado, Fournette will be off again. Obviously got Darrell Henderson. He'll be off again. Singletary was only on a 1-year deal. Joshua Kelly looks pretty crap. Peoples-Jones, I don't know what deal that was. He got the Lions, but it's probably a short deal as well. You go down his team, a lot of them potentially not going to be in starting spots next year, even though he's got that core. But he has got a few picks, so he can pick up players.
What has he got picks-wise? I don't think he's got any first left, though.
He has... Let me just look at this.
He's got Luke,
second.
his second, and Luke's second.
Oh, he's only got 2 seconds. Yeah, so...
Coming off IR, you'd like to think maybe... Is that his last year? And is he going to be the same guy? I mean, he's not a mobile quarterback, so as long as he can kind of step back and pass, it shouldn't affect him too much. I think when you've got a core wide receiver room like that, it is a bit of a worry. It is really positive, but it is a worry for me if I'm looking at Jordan Love, Pickett, and Fields. I don't think Fields is a bear this time next year. So with that in mind, you'd expect him to get a starting job, but he might not. This is the NFL. Who knows what's going to happen? Might get beaten out. Who knows? And then you're looking at Pickett, who I don't believe is the guy, and Jordan Love has proven not to be the guy. Both of those, their fan bases are already talking about the fact that they kind of want to move on and look at other options. That's only going to grow the more and more losses they rack up. So that's going to be worrying, I think, in a Superflex league. Matt will be slightly worried about that for all the good moves he's made. That one's got to be on his agenda.
Yeah, especially with Bayesian coming in and being as good as he has. I mean, we all laughed at Dan when he mentioned it. And he said, Bayesian could come in and take over from Fields, and we all sort of start pissing ourselves. But he has done well as a rookie who's come in, and potentially the Bears could go, we could get something for Fields, put in Bayesian, and maybe put some pieces on that O-line, and who knows.
100%. And their draft capital they're getting next year is ridiculous. Yeah. So that looks positive as well. So if we move down kind of the order now, that takes us on to the old Donk himself. He's playing backfield penetration. Donk is currently up there in the league. I think he is, and he's second in the league.
Second, yep.
On a 7-2 record, same as Oogly Clocks. How do you feel about Donk's team now after being very vocal about your thoughts and feelings at the start of the season?
I think, again, he's done well with no injuries. Obviously, he had Kyler Murray, who you knew about. He drafted. He was already
injured, yeah.
He drafted Kamara, who has a suspension. So, again, you knew about that. But if you sort of scroll down, all these main pieces, Olave, ETN, Josh Allen, Derek Henry, Thomas... everyone you sort of roll down, he's not really had many injuries. He's obviously not had the buys with the Saints as well.
That's going to be big.
Half his team is the Saints, which is next week, so he's going to have to make a few drops next week. So that's going to be quite interesting, who he drops and who he doesn't, because I think he's going to have to drop about 3 players potentially.
Well, I said this to you, didn't I? But I've been looking at it since then, and actually, it's not as bad. The Hill one doesn't help him. Hill doesn't help him because he's gone out and got Hill in the tight end where he's going to cause a drop issue. But you're looking at Allen, doesn't need to worry about. ETN doesn't need to worry about. Thielen, fucking can't believe he made that trade, but doesn't need to worry about. Marquise Brown doesn't have to worry about. Murray's now back, and kicker, defense, just drop the Saints defense. That's not an issue at all. So then all of a sudden you're looking at Henry can come in at RB for Kamara, so he's not having to drop anyone.
Yeah.
And then he's got to find a place. He's got to find a place for wide receiver 1, which you could, quite comfortably lob in Marquise Brown in there, and then someone else into the flex. Who's he got in the flex? just somebody here, Rondale Moore, Curtis Samuel, like just in like a flex spot. So really, it's not actually as many as you think.
Yeah, he has to drop 2, doesn't he, for a kicker and a defense. So
yes,
if
but you
puts
drop the
Henry
defense, wouldn't you?
well, yeah, you can drop the defense.
Yeah, he puts Henry in for Kamara, and then just Marquise Brown goes in for Olave, and then you need to get a tight end, and then he just puts in like Curtis Samuel in the flex, and then yeah, he's just got to pick up a Saints. He's just got to pick up a defense.
Yeah, it's true. So yeah, I think he has dropped 2 then. Well, the kicker, the Saints, and some of a tight end. So.
He doesn't have to drop Gay.
But just Gay's on bye. The Colts are on bye next week.
Oh, is he? Yeah, okay, yeah, sorry. Is there in Germany?
Maybe it's not as bad as it is. Maybe he's played us all and all these Saints players. But
I think the ETN one thing that wasn't considered was how easy the Saints' schedule is, and I didn't expect them to be able to put up the points that they are. I have to admit, I thought they'd be worse than they currently are with Carr first year. I didn't think they'd be doing as well offensively as they are. But the bigger ones, I think, really are ETN. We're all if we think back to the start of the season, we all knew how quality ETN was, but there was question marks. There was definite question marks there. Even like Tank Bigsby coming in. It's the new organisation they brought him in. There was so many question marks there, and I think he's just proved it all wrong. He's been quality, and he really has helped Donk keep moving. Then you add in the fact that I thought Henry was done, but he's still putting up decent points. So yeah, I mean, it would be a massive tragedy if the Donk ended up winning the bowl. It would be, because it would just be an embarrassment for us all. But you know what? I think it could happen. I'm starting to believe it could happen.
Yeah, those running backs have really, really helped. So, like you say, with ETN getting 2 touchdowns a week while he did for about 3 weeks. His running backs have outscored, I think, everyone else's running backs, maybe twofold in certain aspects. I think the one thing that I mentioned is the Derek Carr trade. I don't know what Shane was doing.
Mad. Yeah, that was mad. Wasn't it for a tight end?
It was for Cole Kmet, which didn't make any sense to me because Shane's got Mark Andrews. So
that's mad.
And if you look at Shane's team this week, he's having to play, what's his name, Danny DeVito from the Giants. And you could have plugged in Derek Carr. I mean, that was a bit strange that he sort of paid Will off with a QB for an average tight end.
Superflex, you do not give away QBs at that sort of price. Well, I don't know, in a single QB league, you give a QB away at that league. Very strange from Shane, because he's normally the sort of guy where he's quite shrewd about things. I wonder if he's got a bit lost in the kind of redraft world rather than remembering kind of what we're playing here. It's a man. He could have taken that, even if he picked up someone who got no points at tight end. He could take a Al in that game week where he did it to have a tight end covering and still make playoffs easily and carry on. So, I mean, Donk's been lucky with it, but Donk is the luckiest guy we all know, and looks like it's going to continue. He's managed. I just can't fathom the Thielen trade. That's the only one for me. Like, he was in prime position. We were talking about how actually he'd done brilliantly by not doing anything. He was in great position. Everything was looking great. Like, giving up your first round pick because you were pissed off with Luke Mann sending you trades, so then you go and trade with Ollie. Like, what? And to get Thielen, like a guy who, I mean, I guess he's just been blinded by the points that have been put up at the start of the season, hasn't he? That's what's happened.
Yeah.
But
he was also slowed down a little bit, wasn't he?
I mean, the guy's fucking terrible. The guy's terrible. But you could have gone and got like Keenan Allen. Do you know what I mean? Someone like that would have been outstanding. It looks like Keith's willing to give up Cup for a first. So, from the rumours I'm hearing, Ollie could be getting Cooper Cup for whatever he gave up for Thielen in the first place, which was basically nothing off Luke Mann.
Yeah, it was a strange trade, but who knows?
Very odd.
It may work out for him. Who knows?
It won't work out for him. I think that's the one mistake he's made. The one thing that could be massive for him is Kyler Murray being back. I'm not sold on him being massive this week, but I really rate the talent. I think he's quality and phenomenal fantasy. So I think that could be a game changer for Donk.
Yeah, the worry is he's back in action and it's his first game and it's, pads up, someone smashing him on that knee. So it'll be interesting to see if he scrambles. That first scramble outside the pocket and goes for a little bit of a run will be really interesting. But from a throwing perspective, obviously a massive upgrade on Dobbs and a huge upgrade on Clayton Tune, who's absolutely awful.
Yeah. So that moves us on to Ollie in backfield penetration, who he's playing this week. Who do you have out of the two of them before we go into Ollie's team? Who do you have winning that game this game week?
This game week, still Will.
Yeah.
Josh Allen's playing Denver, should do a lot better. Jackson's got the Browns. The Browns have got a good defense. James Conner's just come back and he's obviously a bit banged up.
Yeah.
And then he's playing Reed. Kincaid's been really good.
Yes.
I think as soon as Luke traded him, I think he said, "Fuck this! Right, I'm going to do it now." Luke's
I think it's done
all year, and then he's gone and done it. And Kincaid looks like the man now. Do rate him. Cortland Sutton's been good, unexpectedly good. But I still think Will's got the firepower probably to win this week.
Yeah, over the line. Yeah, I mean, Ollie's got a strong looking setup now, hasn't he? I think what he's done well with is he's managed to make trades with people that have worked out really well in his favour. Kind of bided his time, knew what he was looking for. Can you hear my kid go mental?
Yes, we can.
But I think he's managed to make some trades at the right time to bring in the right people, and it's going to be enough to do really well for him. I don't know. Maybe just due to game weeks and who teams are playing. Yeah, probably Donk's probably going to get him this week, but I do expect that team to be doing pretty well, and he's going to have a big push for playoffs. For the Super Bowl this year, I think, with the players put around, and knowing that he's a tactical GM, I can see him making some moves before the trade deadline, which other GMs maybe might bottle and not make, and I think that might be the sort of thing that gets him over the line versus others.
Yeah, and it's a good team, obviously, with Hill and AJ Brown and that. Hill getting 30 points a week as well, obviously really helped at the start of the year. He's really struggled at running back. If you go back a few, obviously Connor got injured for 4 or 5 weeks, but he struggled at running back all year. Just nobody's really in there. Justice Hill, P. Ryan Gibson, it's all a bit garbage, isn't it? Richardson going on IR early was not a help either.
That's the way you drafted, isn't it? He's purposely drafted on purpose with punt and RB, a bit similar to what I'd kind of done, and a couple of others. It's given him strength in other areas, and I just, he's got 2 firsts, so I will not be surprised if I see both of them disappear within the next 2 weeks. And all of a sudden he's got a very strong RB and a strong receiver to add on the depth and or starting.
Yeah, well, you're bang on, because I can give you a scoop that he's been after CeeDee Lamb today.
There you go.
With Brandon Ayuk kind of first. So those are the moves he's trying to make. Obviously, decline that. That's not happening at all.
I'd trade that. I'd make that. I'd make that trade if it was me. But yeah, I can see that, and that makes a lot of sense. And I think that'll be the difference for me. That'll be the difference as to why I think I'm going with. I think it's between Ollie, Tim, and Shane for the Super Bowl, and I think Ollie wins it right now solely because I think the moves he'll make to make it happen. I think that's the difference.
Yeah,
I think it's the same reason why AP is in constant forever turmoil, because the guy's terrified to do anything or nothing, and I think that's where Ollie will succeed. I think he'll do well.
He's got the draft capital, like you say, isn't he, to trade his way. I think the rest of them at the top haven't got that.
No, that's true.
I don't think so.
That's true. I think Donk's still got a second. I think Tim's got 2 seconds, hasn't he?
Yeah, I think we looked at me 2 seconds.
Yes, yeah. So there's a bit there. But yeah, I don't know. I think that could be the thing. That takes us on to Bengal Dom, somebody who has been in the news recently. Kind of, everyone thought he had a really strong team. Then he's kind of absolutely burned it down, selling the best receiver in the league for a bag of chips, and then gone back the other way a bit and tried to make some win now assets with me, and then done some weird shit with you, which last week seemed to turn out really well, but got some eye-opening questions coming into my inbox when that trade went down. So Bengla Dom has got two girls this week. Let's talk about Bengla Dom and then we can go on to Luke's team.
Yeah, the strange moves are the ones that, because I thought he had a decent enough team. Win now, older guys. Jefferson obviously out for a few weeks, but sit on that, get him back.
Yep.
But yeah, the older guys he's got in there have done really well. Kirk Cousins has had a great year. Jared Goff's had a good year, so he's sort of hit on those. Eckler was obviously injured for a while, didn't help him, but Josh Jacobs was in there. Devontae Adams, an old guy. DeAndre Hopkins has obviously come alive since Levis has started playing a few weeks ago, so he's done really well there. Just made a few odd moves here and there. Like you say, the Justin Jefferson one is a strange one. He asked me about Dobbs, and I looked at it and thought, yeah, go on, I'll go for it. He's not going to play in Minnesota for a few weeks, and lo and behold, 10 minutes into the game, he starts throwing the ball about for Minnesota. It looks really great. So he's going to play the rest of the year. And he did pretty well for me. Even when he was at the Cardinals, he was getting 15 points and 25, I think he got 1 week. So, maybe it was a good move for him. I don't know, but...
he's an actual rocket scientist. Did you know that?
Yeah, he's really smart, isn't he?
Yeah, like he's actual, like worked with NASA, actual rocket science. I found that mad. I found that absolutely mad.
Yeah, pretty crazy. In terms of his starting team, pretty good. Goff, Eckler, Jacobs, very good. DK Metcalf on his days, all right. Devontae Adams, bit of a worry with that rookie QB who's come in now. Garoppolo wasn't that great either. Hopkins has done all right. It's good. It's not great, I think, is probably
the big worry is the age, isn't it? The big worry is you're looking at all of it and you're just worried about the age of the players more than anything. They're all at the back end of their career generally rather than the start. And that's got to be a concern. Like Hopkins, where's he going to be next year? Adams, okay, he still looks elite, but is it the QB? Is he not got a step to it anymore? I don't know what's going on there, but he's not himself. Metcalf, okay, that's the new guy he's brought in. He's still young as hell, but I'm out on the Seahawks in general. I don't think Gino's the guy. Goff, how long's he got left? Eckler, he's got kind of more than a year left, 2 years tops. What is he now, 28, 29? Yeah, 28. I think that'll be my main concern for Bengla Dom is what next? What next would be the big question. Got a couple of young guys who look like they're gonna do all right. Tank Dow's look quality with CJ Stroud.
Yeah, he's really good. He's hit. He should be playing him this week, and he's not.
That's mad.
Nico Collins is out, and Tank Dell is going to be number one. So I don't know why he's not playing there. But
yeah, that's tough calls. How do you see him finishing up? How do you see Bengla Dom finishing up? Making playoffs or no?
Well, he's got Luke this week, which he should win because Luke is actively trying to lose. Then he goes up against Beef, which again, maybe he should win. And then he's against the Mud Dogs. And I think he maybe has me at some point as well. So he's going to win this week. He's probably going to win next week. So he might have enough to sneak him. It might come down to point totals, really, because his points is quite close to me.
Yeah.
So I think if he sneaks in, he's going to sneak in at 5 or 6, if he does. But with that aging team, like you say, if he doesn't make playoffs, it's a worry for next year.
It's an interesting one. That takes us into Luke's team then. A lot of question marks have come into Luke's team. A lot of GMs concerned about the fact that he's not got a full roster. And should we be looking into it? Obviously, we can say on the pod that we have discussed this a number of weeks ago, and both kind of come to the agreement that it's up to him as long as a starting team is played at all times. It is up to him. It just means obviously if he's not going to pick up points from his bench, which obviously what he wants. But if a player all of a sudden does well and they're not on his bench now, well, you've lost it. Someone else probably get him on waivers, and that's that. So, could be a shrewd move from him. Also, could be the wrong move. Well, I guess only time will tell. we'll see what happens with that. He is actively tanking. I think it's confused everyone. The tank on that has confused everyone. Start of the season really went win now, traded up again to kind of get in with Bijan. Was making all the moves to have this kind of really strong, relatively young as well, core team.
Very young.
And it feels like he's kind of given up the ghost on it very quickly. He's picked up some good receivers in Addison and Flowers. They're doing really well at the moment, aren't they? And you'd imagine they're going to keep going from strength to strength. Bijan's been disappointing, really disappointing. Less so him, more so Arthur Smith. Brees Hall's just quality asset. But I think, there's Johnny Johnson, I'm not a fan of. I think my concern for Luke's team there is we talk about windows in Dynasty, right? And running backs have a smaller window than any other position. Bijan, realistically, if we're going normally RBs wise, their window's like 3 to 4 years tops for like elite. That's it. So if we're saying this is year one for Bijan, that's going to leave him tops 2 to 3 years of being an elite running back option for fantasy. You then pair that with non-elite, could be elite in the future, but non-elite right now receivers. You start going, well, where's the upside for when are you winning? When are you actually winning? That'd be a question mark for me, and I think something he needs to think about is what is he trying to do? If you're trying to win now, you go out. I hate it, but you go out and buy Thielen. This is what you do. Shit long term. I think there's some questions I think Luke needs to have a think about because, at QB, I can only assume. I think he's trying to tank for Caleb. I do think he's going. That's why he's got no bench players. I think he's trying to go as low as he can to get that elite QB to begin with, and I think that's his play. He's got some good picks now. He's got 3 firsts, I think.
3. He's got mine, Matt's, and his own. So
and Matt's looks like it's going to be a low one as well now, doesn't it? That doesn't look like it's going to be, it's going to be low to mid tops realistically, unless Jefferson comes back and is absolutely a beast. But he's not going to be with Dobbs, I imagine. I think that's what he's looking at. I think he's looking at going, elite QB in Caleb. And then I think and if he lands on Drake May, I think he's more than happy with it. And then I think he's going out for someone like a Neighbours, and getting that kind of really top end receiver as well. And he probably doesn't need, maybe even goes like the other one here is maybe he gets like a Brock Bowers because he liked Kincaid, didn't he?
Yeah.
And that could be like his 3 picks. Like Brock Bowers is going to be in that kind of 4 to 7, 6 range. I could see that happening. And that to be fair, that would be a good team. That would be a good team. So, but it's just interesting, isn't it? What are your thoughts?
I think his team was good enough to get playoffs, potentially not good enough to win unless he made moves.
For his old team, sorry.
For his old team previously, before he went tanking, he had Tua, Bijan, Brees, CeeDee Lamb, Waddle, JSN, Kincaid.
That's a good team. That's a good team.
It's a very strong team. And he sort of threw it all away. He gave me CeeDee Lamb for a first, which now looks pretty cheap, considering you put up 40 points and then 25 points, I think. He gave away Kincaid, who now is seemingly getting a lot of touches.
He was so high on Kincaid as well pre-season. So high.
Ramondre Stevenson went as well, and I think ever since that point, he's now getting the ball a little bit more. He's had a few touchdowns.
Just had another run just there for 10 yards.
Adam Thielen as an old guy, pretty good players, but maybe he looked at it and he said JSN's too young, Kincaid's too young. Maybe let's just get the picks instead and build with Bijan, Brees, and Zay Flowers and Addison, and try and pick up those QBs that maybe he didn't have.
Zay does look good. Zay does look good.
Oh, Zay, he's going to be the guy, isn't he? He's
number one. Zay looks really good. Well, how do you feel about his QBs? He's got Russell Wilson. He's playing Foreman. I mean, Foreman got 17 points, but he's playing Foreman in super flex. He hasn't got another QB. No, he hasn't. That's his only QB. So Wilson's his only QB now.
Well,
so he's definitely
on Naya.
Oh, is he? Oh, sorry. Yeah.
Yeah, Dungeons. I know.
He's definitely going for Caleb, or he's definitely shooting for Caleb. And if he lands at Drake May, I think he's going to be loving it. I think that's the play. That's what he's going for.
I think the three first, like you say, if you put in Brock Bowers there, you put in Caleb Williams, Drake May, and you put in a decent receiver, then you get A-Chain back, and you stick him in there as well.
Yeah. I forgot about A-Chain. He was phenomenal.
Number one. The team looks very strong. Again, it's probably going to be on that younger side next year, probably creeping into playoffs, but maybe he has to make moves again to then put it up.
Yeah, that's what he's going to have to do. But yeah, I mean, I agree with you. I think his team was making playoffs for me before, and it was an exciting team to kind of with the depth of the youngsters. This year, I still wouldn't be surprised if he made playoffs. Like, as much as with all the moves he's made, I still wouldn't be surprised. It wouldn't take much for Bijan and Brees to have a fucking day, and that's going to be big points in themselves. And you know, Deontay Johnson could do bits. Foreman's looking like a guy right now, and then Addison and Flowers can both do bits. So I still wouldn't be surprised if he even wins this game week. I know it looks like Dan's got him, but in theory, Robinson and Hall both got really good matchups. And I'm looking down at Dan's team again, and yeah, I mean, I can see Luke getting him this week, and if he does, that's going to put Luke to 5-5, and I think that'll really start raising some questions. With 1 week to go on trade deadline, we know Luke's not scared to make moves. I reckon he'll come out knocking to people.
Yeah,
and why wouldn't you?
He may switch again. He may switch, but he says he won't. But we'll see.
I think that's one thing we should probably raise at this point before we move on. Like, I get it because I'm so vocal, and I've been from the very get-go wanting to go for Caleb. Like, I've been very vocal about that. But like, let's not forget, the point is to win. Like, the point's to win the fucking game. And it's kind of been like, especially with like me chirping about the rookies all the time and everything else, I think that's got a bit lost for at least some of like, the point is to make playoffs. And when you make playoffs, anything can happen thereafter. Like, go and win it. If you've got an opportunity to win it, go and fucking win it. I had to talk Keith round the other day, as much as like I want his team to be shite because I've got his first. He was getting offers from Mahomes and Taylor and Cup, and I was like, settle down. Like, settle yourself down. What are you doing? But yeah, I think it's just if you've got an opportunity, it's got to be a great time for you, for Dan, for Beef, those sorts of teams that are kind of middle of the road. That even Matt up until maybe recently, you all had a shot at making playoffs, and then anything can happen.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. That's where I am. Make it and see what happens. Like you say, injuries happen. Players come in. People like Devontae Foreman. If you look back 4 or 5 weeks ago, you wouldn't be saying Devontae Foreman's going to be getting 18 points.
Yeah.
And some player like that could pop up in 4 or 5 weeks' time in the playoffs, and you're playing Jarrett McKinnon and he's getting 20 points. Who knows what's going to happen?
100%. So that moves us on, going down the order to Shane. Shane's playing myself in the matchup, so I'll pass over to you for Shane. How do you think he's getting on? Obviously, he's made a couple of moves. It looks like he's going to have Chase back. Doesn't look. Oh no, he is playing him. I was hoping he's currently on honeymoon, so I was kind of hoping he might like set and forget and not take the risk and not put Chase in. But he's on top of it, sadly.
Where is he?
He is in Thailand, I think he's in.
Oh, that's a terrible time difference for the USA, isn't it? He's probably working out on his phone what the time difference is.
I was kind of hoping, I really was. But yeah, so talk me through Shane's team.
I like it. I think it's still the title contender. We thought at the start of the season it was going to be the title contender. I think it still is, making Super Bowl and probably winning it. Christian McCaffrey's going to touchdown every single game, and he'll probably get another one today. Saquon Barkley hasn't looked great, and he's playing Cowboys this week. But still, he's the man at the Giants. Nobody else gets the ball.
That's all they've got. Especially
Tommy
Jones
DeVito.
out.
They haven't got Jones out, so they've got to dump the ball, haven't they? So
I
think when DeVito comes in, they're just going to run the ball heavy against Dallas today and for the rest of the season. Jamar Chase is...
And you can run on Dallas a bit, can't you? Like, you're like, your defense is very strong, but you can run on you a bit.
A little bit, not as much as last year. We've definitely shored it up. Swift wasn't that great last week against us. Gainwell got a touchdown, but
good player.
Hurts didn't do that much. So they were all right, but not too great. Chase is, up there with Jefferson as probably number 1, number 2 in Dynasty. Mike Evans, he's on his last year with the Bucs, but he's looked really good this year. Andrews is an elite tight end. Kenneth Walker hasn't done it in the last few weeks, but he looks really
He's
great.
elite. He's elite.
Drake London with Heineke now should be getting better passes. I would have thought them ridden.
It'll be interesting, wouldn't it? It'll be interesting. He was obviously not available last week, and obviously only had that kind of. I think it was I missed it because I was at Shane's wedding, but I want to say he only. I want to say Heineke came in for the second half.
I think he
on that week. No, he didn't. Heineke started last week, but that was the one London was out. The week before, I think he came in the second half.
Yeah,
so we didn't get loads of time to play with Drake there. Whereas last week Drake's out, and then he doesn't get to play him again. So yeah, I think Drake could be an option against Arizona as well. I think he's going to put up points today.
Yeah. I think you're right. And Jalen Hurts, he's gone out and got as a QB. I think for 25 first. Insane value there. The rest of his bench is a bit of nothing. I like Josh Downs in there. I think he's been really good, and he probably will be great next
year. He's had a good day today. It's just finished, by the way, 10-6
to
Colts. Yeah. That game really stalled. I'm glad we did this.
So yeah, the starting team is great. His bench looks a little bit weak, but you only need starting players. I think it's really good.
Yeah, no, I agree. Solid, really solid team. He's got a bit of an age-out worry in certain positions, but he's not worried about that. He's said from the get-go what he's aiming to do. I think he's got elite running backs. He's got my favourite receiver in the league. Evans has shown he's still about it. Drake London is only going to get better. I think he's 22 now, Drake, isn't he? But he's super young. People forget how super young he is. And yeah, Shane's going to be a guy for a bit of time to come. And the only thing for Shane is he's not got any concerns come draft night, because he's only got 1/3, and in 2025 he's only got 1 second currently, so he could have a relaxing draft night. But yeah, I think you're right. I think he's definitely up there for title contender, and probably arguably the closest of all the teams to be as close as we can guarantee to being in the Super Bowl right now.
Yeah, I think he's got the highest percentage. He's had a tough sort of schedule as well, because he's only 4 and 5, 5 and 4. He's 5 and 4.
Yeah.
You put him on another schedule, and he could be 8-0, 7-1, whatever it is. He could be bang up there. So
to think we're coming into week 10 and it's the first time he's playing me. I think that says something, doesn't it? A lot of the other top teams have already played me and already had that. So yeah, I think he's spot on.
You twice as well.
Yeah, that's true. That's very true. Although I am starting to put up points now, so that's a good segue into the old, the legendary Dirty Birds. How are you feeling about the Birds after some insults have come around the league? How are you feeling about them?
I think you got shot at the start of the year with injuries ridiculously. I think you had 5 or 6 players out, and game week 1, didn't you? With Christian Watson was out for a few weeks. Dotson was doing nothing.
Oh, he was shocking, wasn't he? I've got to say, I was starting to fret about Dotson. I was starting to fret.
Well, when you see Curtis Samuel getting the ball and getting touchdowns, and you're like, you got your man over there. He's supposed to be the guy. Getting nothing was really confusing. But now they seem to have switched when Samuel's gone out injured. They're giving Dotson the ball, and he looks great. So I can see him having a good day today as well.
I think Howell's improving as well. I wasn't sold on Howell initially, but I think he's getting better and better. Which obviously helps. You need somebody who's going to get the ball to them. He's a bit. Curtis Samuel's the easy option a lot of the times, whereas Dotson is going to be running slightly larger routes, so it's a bit hard to get the ball to. I think there's a bit in there as well.
Yeah, and it obviously took the younger QBs who are always going to struggle probably for 6 weeks. I think, and most rookies do. CJ Stroud's coming alive, and he's the guy to have in Dynasty right now as a QB. He's the one who's come out of this draft class and looks like the best QB over Stroud.
Yeah, he looks elite. He looks elite. Over Young,
he's the one that everyone over Young. Yeah, sorry, and he's the one everyone wants, and is not going anywhere. Obviously, made a few moves, getting Aaron Jones in. I know you love Jones.
I do love Jones.
Pickup. Javonte Williams, I think, is an interesting one, because you knew coming in he was injured, he was banged up, he wasn't going to be great starting. He's gone a little bit under the radar, but he looks really, really good. Coming into a matchup today against Buffalo, again, the rest of the season and going into next year, I think he looks really, really good, and he's a player I really like.
Yeah, he was picked up, as you say. I picked him up on purpose for the running, knowing I was kind of going for a 1 year punt, but I wanted people who were going to be strong towards the end of the year. Took a gamble on the injury, thinking he'd be kind of recovered more towards the back end of the year. Got on the field a lot earlier than I expected, which was like a positive for me playing him, but a negative in terms of that kind of, oh shit, he's putting up shit points, so people start thinking he's shit. But he's starting, touchwood, to come into his own again. The tape, and if anyone watches any Denver games, he looks explosive again. He's cutting brilliantly. He looks good. So, fingers crossed on injuries and everything. And I'm really hopeful for Javonte for next year, which is why I got him, because he's still so young. But he might just get me out of having to do a combine come the end of the year, which is kind of my hope.
Yeah, I could definitely see that. Yeah, so you've drafted players who didn't start well, but are now, getting there. Lawrence was another one as well. He stunk the start of the year, the same as Burrow did.
Yeah. I have to say, Lawrence is on the table, though. I have to admit, like I've put him on the trade block. I know people use that trade block when they don't actually seem to want to trade, but it feels like. But he's on the trade block and he's available for trade. I've got CJ Stroud in there, who I'm more than happy now to put in as my QB1. I'm not a big Jags guy simply because of Aaron. So Lawrence can go because I'm such a big fan of CJ Stroud, and I've now picked up Heineke, who's a Falcons QB. So obviously, I'm going to want to keep him around if he's doing all right. And Bryce Young, I know he's had a lot of stick, but you and I both watch QB School on tape. Shout out to people who don't know. If you want to learn a bit more and educate yourselves a bit more, look on YouTube for a guy called QB School. He breaks down the tape of all the QBs. I don't know if you've seen the latest one from Young.
No.
Worth having a watch. But it's got to a clown show now, where it's just there like, where do you want him to throw it? Like there's no one open, and he keeps freezing it at points of like where the receiver's finally open, and he's on his arse. He's just been sacked by like 3 people. Yeah. The tape, some of the bits I have seen, there's always going to be those rookie bits. But the one thing I do like about Young is he's got that it factor. He's making some plays where he shouldn't have the right to make that play. The risk you've got with Young is that Carolina haven't got the draft capital, as has been said. How long do you wait on a guy to put the numbers around him? The only thing that gave me a bit of confidence was I read a stat literally only a few hours ago about that he's on the same trajectory that Lawrence was in Lawrence's first year. And obviously Jags had to go out and get a new fucking coach, get some weapons around him, blah, blah, blah. And all of a sudden Lawrence is one of the top, 6 QBs in the league. So that's the one hope I've kind of got for Young. But it's going to be a rocky ride, and he's got no trade value for me right now because nobody's interested, because no one wants to take the gamble.
Yeah, no, he's definitely a sit. And then going into next year, you could see the Panthers getting a few vets on that O-line, shoring it up, maybe getting a wide receiver in the draft, getting a few weapons for him. And then next year going into it, you can definitely see him coming on. So he's a sit for you right now. There's no sale there. But yeah, I can see what you're doing with Lawrence. I can definitely see that. Obviously got tons and tons of draft capital. Mayer is a decent tight end. What do you think with Pitts? What's the thoughts of Pitts with Mayer?
Yeah, I mean, I've got 3 tight ends, which is against the plan that I wanted to have, but I do like tight ends. I'm holding Pitts to the end of time, I think. I've got to hold Pitts until he leaves Atlanta, and I have a year of seeing what he's like at another team. I've got to do it, I think. He needs to leave Atlanta. He needs to, because we need a new coach, because that's just not working. I'm playing him today solely because he's had a baby 2 days ago, so I'm hoping that he might be fed the ball a bit because of it. But yeah, I mean, when I've got, who knows? But the amount of talent like that. I mean, we won't get into it now. The Falcons are just a joke with the talent they've got and the way they're using it. But yeah, I mean, Pitts, he's so young. He's younger than Mayer. He's younger than Kincaid. He's still super young. It'd be silly to react to it. But it is a question mark I've got, because I've got Musgrave, I've got Mayer, both 2 guys which I really, really like. I think could go in a lot of teams starting tight end position. So I'm going to have some questions asked to myself kind of come to the end of the season.
Yeah, I think if you weren't a Falcons fan and I was in your position, I'd be getting rid of Pitts and putting in either the other ones because they're decent enough. Musgrave looks great.
Yeah. So we're saying obviously I lose this game week. I go 0-10. Shane goes 6-4, and I'm still searching for my first win of this season. That then moves us on to who's next on the list. We've done Shane. That takes us to Mud Dogs, and Mud Dogs is playing Beef. So in this one, tight matchup. This one, both 4 and 5. Both of them pushing for playoff spots. Both of them could make that kind of 5th, 6th playoff spot. If I go down Mud Dogs super quick now, I think he's made some weird moves, and I think he's made some good moves. I think he's one of those where it's kind of a bit. I'm not quite sure where he's at with things. The team could be very strong. I think he needs a running back really badly. I really think he needs a running back really badly. The fact he hasn't gone out and traded for a strong running back has surprised me massively. I think there's ones out there that wouldn't have cost him that much money, that much capital, or even that much of a player's thing. But he's scored some of. Is he? I think he still is the highest points scored. I think
points against.
So he's had the highest points against.
Yeah.
But he's still managed to have a 4 and 5 record. He's putting up good points. He's up there with points scored himself. It's one of those where if he just makes playoffs, I would have him quite high in the list of who's got a chance of winning it. But he just has to get there, and all he's got to do is probably make a move for a running back, and he's probably close. If you're starting AJ Dillon, you haven't got a chance, in my opinion. But he's got to make that change. I like Kirk. We like Pittman. He's going to put 16 points up today. Schultz, strong. Wilson, say no more. Howell's been a lot better. Dak, I still wouldn't have got rid of the Hurts myself in a dynasty league, but might be good enough, and it's given him a bit of a chance for future years. Yeah, I mean the only one that he's got Puka Nacua, who's just absolute steal of the draft, as he's put on the list there. So he's got to be really happy with that. I mean if I'm him, I'm thinking right. Burks has been shocking. I was a Burks fan, but he's been shite. Absolutely. Is he even worth anything now? Burks has put up 22 points all year. All year.
He's been injured as well.
If I'm him, I'm probably selling off Burks for a running back position that, can go in instead of Dillon, and all of a sudden he's getting an extra 5 to 6 points on his total points in a game week, and that could be the difference maker for him. So it'll be an interesting one for Mud Dogs, but I think it all comes down to him, to whether or not he makes playoffs this year. It's going to come down to what moves he does or doesn't make.
Yeah, he has tried to get the running back. He came, obviously, like I said earlier, to go get Pacheco for Pickett. I think I went back and said not interested unless you do Levis and something. But he obviously went out and got Pierce instead and made that move, which I don't really think helps him because he's out now and Singletary looks okay. Pierce isn't going to put much points up.
When's he? And also, I'm looking at Pierce's running as well. It's not got easy game weeks. When's he even due back? I don't know. I think that's I think he's got to make a further move. But I mean, projected points have still got him beating Beef. I know both of us are massively against projected points, but we've still got him beating Beef. So break us down. What you think of APs?
I don't hate it, but I think the running backs position has been a really tough position for a lot of teams this year. I think we spoke about Ollie earlier, running backs tough. If Kyrie Williams doesn't become Kyrie Williams, he's been awful. If Puka Nacua is bang average, Phillips has probably been awful. So he's hit on 2 players that probably come out of nowhere to be really, really good players.
Puka definitely.
Kyrie Williams got injured, so he's gone. With Stafford out, Puka becomes irrelevant, really. I know they went and got Wentz, but that Rippin, he was awful. So
he got dropped already, didn't he? Rippin's now plays for he plays for somebody else now, though. I saw they picked who did Rippin get picked up? I can't remember who it was now, but someone's got to pick him up already. Oh, he was shite.
Pollard, he's got a run of games coming out. I tried to actually inquire about Pollard because I think today against the Giants he's going to be really good.
Could be, yeah.
Cowboys should go up massively. I think on the spread we're about 17 points. And if that happens, Dak, CD, potentially, that's not going to happen, and we're just going to run the ball.
Yeah.
Pollard could be looking at a 30-pointer today, potentially with 2 touchdowns or something like that. I could definitely see that. And then we've got a run of games of Carolina, Washington. Pollard could be really good leading to the rest of the season. So I can see him putting up points. So I can see him getting into playoffs.
Yeah.
And I can see him maybe taking on one of the other teams and beating them with points. With Puka Nacua, with Stafford coming back. So, I like it. I think he's just maybe got to make one more move.
He's got to get a start. He's got a better RB2, hasn't he? He's got to get an RB2.
Yeah.
I
think that's what he was doing when he was trying to get Pacheco off me as an RB2 and trying to get rid of Pickett, who he didn't really like. So he has tried.
So then Beef, he's obviously playing Beef. Beef's a guy who felt very disrespected by the league with where he was voted to come in our pre-season pick'em. Has proved everyone wrong so far, showing that having the elite receivers is all he really needs. Currently on apparently to lose this matchup with Phillips, but I mean, there's no debate in that he got a phenomenal rookie tight end in the draft. I think that one he's been better than I think all of us really expected him to be. His receivers are some of the best receivers in the league as a receiver room. And he's putting up points, isn't he? I think the only probably bit of major worry for Beef is his QB room is concerning, to say the least. But how do you see this one?
I think his team's okay, but if it makes it to playoffs, it's not going anywhere. It's not like Phillips' team that you could see him putting up 150 points. If he makes playoffs, I can see him making 125 and probably not being good enough. And he's sort of in that awkward space, I think, of being in the middle, not at the bottom, but not at the top.
Yeah, that's fair.
So he's got the wide receivers, like you say, that are really good. The running backs, again, are really shaky. Ford's come in, obviously, because Chubb's got injured, and Gus Edwards has looked pretty good recently.
Well, I mean, I'd push against that even more. I think Ford is. I think Hunt proved himself enough against Ford. When Ford went down, I think he's done enough. So that would worry me a lot for Ford. And with Edwards, I think there's one thing that everyone's kind of forgetting about, and that's Keaton Mitchell, who is on my taxi squad, a guy I liked a lot coming into the year. And I don't know if you watched the game last week, but fuck me, he's fucking explosive. Yeah, and when you put that up against the fucking Gus the Bus Edwards, I mean, I'm obviously biased. I'm hoping for it that Keaton Mitchell does keep going the way he is, but I'd have a bit of worries there if I was having to start both Ford and Edwards, and I'm kind of in a position that I'm trying to push for a playoff spot, which he kind of suggested that he's trying to.
Yeah, I think Gus Edwards last week had about 5 carries and he had 2 touchdowns for about 80 yards or something. So he wasn't even on the field, which is pretty crazy. In terms of his bench, he's hit on a few players. Rashee Rice looks really good. For the Chiefs, looks like he's probably going to be number 1 there next year. But yeah, it doesn't look great. Like I say, if he makes playoffs, I think he loses probably first week. If he doesn't make playoffs, he's probably going to beat someone like Matt and Luke. So it's middle of the road. It's probably roughly where my team is.
Yeah, I'd probably agree with that. It's just his receiver room is so strong that it kind of gives you an option every week, doesn't it? He's got the draft capital, 2 firsts, second and a third. Wouldn't be surprised if I saw him making a singular move for this year to kind of push on a bit more, but also retaining a bit of capital for next year. Don't think it would take much for him, but I think I feel like Beef could be another one of those that's so particular to get the right deal, the perfect deal for him, that he doesn't get any deal done at all. I feel like that could be a bit of a thing. We'll wait and see, but I think he could push a bit more again. It's this running trend, isn't it? The RB situation for everyone. But whoever's got an RB that they're willing to sell, I mean, I'm sure I won't go back now, but Luke Mann's probably got. You could probably offer him the right price for Breece Hall, and he'd probably sell him, I reckon. If you kind of offered him a bit of the moon, then all of a sudden you could have a game-changing team.
Yeah, that's true. I think it's a key matchup as well this week. They're both 4 and 5. It's a close matchup, even though it doesn't look at it on predicted points. it could go either way, and then you're sort of either 4-6 or 5-5, and it does switch.
It feels like those two. It feels like they're two of the teams that are within that 5 to 7 category, doesn't it? One of them could easily come 5th. One of them could easily come 7th. It feels like both of them are in that category, I'd have to say. And I guess that moves us swiftly on to somebody who I definitely feel like is in that kind of category as well, is yourself. So you've got the flops this week. Someone who's kind of going the other way than he kind of expected to go. But if I break down your team to begin with, Joey B was a guy you were always going to get, and he's kind of started to come back into strength now after a very rocky start of the year. In a couple of other leagues I'm in, I did see Joey B trades going down, people panicking. It made me think about, do I send one out? But then I very quickly thought he ain't going to send him for shit. But he looks to be kind of coming back to himself, and as long as Chase is healthy and fit this week, I know he's said that he's playing now, so that should be positive. Then you should be all good. Cook, yeah, who knows what Fournette's going to do? That's got to be a bit of a worry. I think if I'm you holding Cook, I know I'm a Fournette fan, but Cook's realistically still going to be the guy. But I can see Fournette eating into some snaps and definitely goal line work, which is already taken by Allen anyway. So that'll be even more of a worry. Gibbs has got Montgomery back, so that's something to kind of think about. He looks phenomenal, Gibbs does. When he gets the ball and he moves, he looks phenomenal, but he just doesn't get the chance to do it. That's good. I feel like you're going through the pain that I've gone through for many years with Swift right now, where you're just shouting at the telly, just like, give him the fucking ball. And we break down, Lockett, Lamb, Hawk, Debo, Watson. You've definitely got a playoff contending team in my eyes. CD was the game changing one there. When you bring him on, it's all right, sweet. He's got his wide receiver one now, and he looks phenomenal now that kind of Dak's playing a bit better. So I can see you winning this game week against the flops. Really can, especially now that I've seen Minshew only put up 6 points. Taylor put in a good to average game week now. After the first quarter, it looked like he was going to be phenomenal, but he's tailed off with only 14 points. So I definitely think you've got a chance now. Going down into your bench, the only kind of question marks, I'm surprised you're not playing Mayers. He's looked really good for Raiders with a high snap share.
The rookie QB is awful.
Yeah.
So the only reason he got points last week, he went on a jet sweep and got a touchdown in the sort of the first drive of the game, and he got about 2 receptions after that. So
yeah,
not worth
it. Sensible play as always from MP.
And they're playing the Jets.
Yeah. So I guess that was kind of a question mark I had. Quentin Johnson, I think, is an odd one, because obviously you've picked him up off Matt. You've got to be worried about that now, I reckon, because Matt sold him low, and you've taken him for value, and he's gone lower.
Yeah.
The fact that he hasn't stepped up still, and you've lost what's his name, Josh Palmer, and he's still not fucking performed. That's really worrying, I think, for Quentin Johnson. And I can actually, I did wonder to myself, like, if you did win this game week against flops, you go 5-5, maybe you get another couple of wins, and you're right in that bit of kind of like, oh, I want it. I wondered if you drop him and like pick up like some really old vet. I haven't looked, but I did wonder if that would go through your head, because he's just been that disappointing. I think he's almost like a roster clog right now.
It's a big worry. It's a big worry. The thing about Palmer going out, you thought he's going to step up now. He's going to break out. Still gets 2 receptions, does nothing.
Yeah.
I think his highest point's been 10.
Really?
So he's been a disappointment. And I think the stats on like wide receivers not doing it in the first year, especially first rounders,
it's big.
The stats are awful. Like Sky Moore, and
the fall off is just
just there. They just they're no good. So it's just a huge worry.
But apart from that, I think you beat the flops this week. I think that starting lineup's enough. I think there are major concerns. I can see you sitting on the edge of your seat in the next 15 minutes. Kind of worried about Montgomery taking things, as we said, Fournette taking over. What happens with the Cowboys? If it just so happens that you do go up big, but it's not CeeDee who scores those points, and all of a sudden it's like, oh, they're just going to stop throwing it. I think it's an interesting matchup because yours is in the exact same position as it is with Beef and AP. Of you're both 4 and 5, you're the 4 teams in that middle of the pack row position, and it's going to depend. It's going to be interesting what happens if you win this game week. I can see Flops setting up a bit, and he probably should do, to be fair, because his team's so old. But that could be an opportunity again for someone like yourself to kind of strengthen and go on from there.
Yeah. It's a tight one. It could go either way, I think. Mixon's the worry. Looking, if I'm going down Keith's team, Mixon's the one I think who can put up 30 points against the Texans.
Yeah, you can run on the Texans, but you can't pass on the Texans generally. I think Mixon could be done, though.
He's not great, but he's all right.
That drop-off that people talk about, for RBs, their window normally lasts till about 26, and then like certain players can kind of keep it going, right? And then sometimes they just don't do that. It just does that. And I think Mixon could be close to that. I just haven't been impressed with Mixon whatsoever. And he's put up 2 good game weeks, fantasy-wise, 20 and 17 points, but I'm watching him play, and he doesn't impress me whatsoever. So I think Mixon maybe does have a good game week this week. I think you're right about the Texans. You can run on him. But yeah, if I'm Keith, if I'm Keith and I lose against you this week, I am selling Mixon sharpish. Sharpish.
I think there is going to be a sell-off if he does lose to me this week. He had an injury, didn't he? T. Higgins isn't playing, so he had to throw in. So he's thrown in Johnny Smith for those jet sweeps. So obviously that's a bit of a downgrade from T. Higgins, but Johnny Smith can get a jet sweep for 20 yards and a touchdown or whatever he does. But
he's got Kupp on bye this week, so obviously that impacts him. But then I guess you could argue Kupp's got to be one of the biggest flops of this year, hasn't he? Coming into it on IR for that period of time, getting no points, then comes back, does all right. Not maybe Kupp levels that we've kind of come to get used to, but does all right. And then the QB goes down, Stafford goes down, and then it's like, ooh, absolute stall. For where I imagine in redraft leagues, for where people who in redraft leagues have drafted Kupp, I bet he's one of the biggest flops of the year.
Yeah, it must have been a huge disappointment. We discussed it at the start of the year about his hamstring and being.
Yeah.
I don't know if he's going to come back. Stafford is on the aging side. There's all the whole McVay stuff. Aaron Donald, is the Rams going to sort of set up shop and be done? Puka Nakua's now come in and is obviously taking snaps. Tutu Atwell looks half decent. So it's not the Cup show anymore, is it? It's they've got a few other people to throw to. So it is a worry.
I see him losing this week, I have to say. Taylor hasn't done enough. Mixon could pick up big points.
I was worried Taylor was going to get 30 points. I could see it happening.
Waiting still for Ridley to break out again. He did it week 1 and hasn't done anything since. Maybe a chance against San Fran. It should be a high-scoring game. Maybe there's a chance there. He's a big believer in Kittle. I'm not, but it'll be a really interesting game. This for me is one of my ones that I'll be watching the most with interest. And when I flip on the app, this is the one I'm going to be looking at because I think this game week truly does depend. It's going to define the league because we know Keith's going to blow up. If he loses, he's going to lose his head. And I think that could mean there's assets going at silly prices, which I'm probably going to have to say to him, maybe have a think about again. But flip side, maybe it doesn't go that way. Maybe Keenan Allen can be Keenan Allen. I love Keenan Allen. Really does step forward. Kittle does step forward. Jonnu Smith is fucking over Pitts and everyone else and scores 20 points and all of a sudden he beats you and then he's going 5-5 and maybe he doubles down and sells off his second pick and tries to do the opposite. That could be another option for Keith. I've said this to Keith because he hasn't got his first, so maybe that's an option for him. Double down on it.
Yeah, there's a lot of stories I think in this matchup, like you say, with the Gibbs has predicted 14 points. I think he gets 10. Mixon's got 15 points predicted. He could get 30. You got Geno Smith against Washington, who aren't great on defense, but I got Tyler Lockett potentially throws to him.
Offset it,
Kittle either gets 2 points or he gets 30 points. Which week is it going to be? Who knows?
Yeah.
So it's going to be really interesting to see what happens. I think Keith either gets 140, 150, or he gets 105. And my team could equally do the same.
Yeah, it'll be an interesting one. Definitely look. It's the one I'm going to be keeping an eye on, the closest eye on of the matches. I think those two middle of the road ones. I think that this is the bit that I'm most looking forward to now. Obviously, my team being out of it, I'm enjoying that middle of the road battle. That who's going to make playoffs battle. We all know that it actually comes down to what teams are in form versus who scores the most points. You know, every year bar one in our leagues that we've done, it's been the team who's just got into playoffs that's ended up winning the whole thing. I'm really excited for those 4 teams. So yeah, to conclude, I guess that's the Mud Dogs, you, Beef, and Flops. Really interesting, and I guess you could throw in Tua as well. To be fair, I think even those 5, Tua could still do it. It wouldn't take much of a day for those 2 RBs he's got to have an absolute day. And we're going to have a right fight on our hands for playoffs. That's going to be really exciting. For me, I think the top of the table is pretty much certain. Like I think we know Tim's in, we know Shane's in, we know Will's in, we know Ollie's in. For me, I know Bengler Dom's got a better record than Shane, but Shane's had a tougher schedule. You could probably say it's on 6-3 as Bengler Dom in, probably. So that literally leaves 1/2 spots left for playoffs out of those 4/5 teams. Quite exciting. Are you kind of in agreement that you think Matt's now officially run his race 3-6?
Yeah, I don't think he's got enough there really to put enough points up to win games. He could be in the toilet bowl really. He could be down there, doing the combine.
That could be funny, couldn't it? Being in a toilet bowl and having Justin Jefferson running out for you.
Yeah, that's true. But yeah, like you said, that sixth place I think is up for grabs for 4 teams: me, Mud Dogs, Beef, and Flops. And Phillips against Mud Dogs and me against Flops this week is really, really key for every single one of those teams, because with the trade deadline coming up, which
right
is
on
the
the
end
horizon.
of week 11, so you've only got one more week, then you've got to make your decision. This game is key for all of us, really.
It really is. I will, just so people are aware, and we're obviously closing that up shortly, but to reiterate, the trade deadline, as I shared that picture of, is you've got during week 11, you can still make trades, but it closes at the end of the final game week, which was obviously Monday Night Football, would be when that whistle goes for the end of the game, no more trades. Just to kind of clarify for people so everyone knows where we're at. Other clarifications we need to make sure people are aware of are combine. I know we've discussed it over and over again, but we've talked about this, didn't we? The combine loser, the person who has to do the combine is the person who comes last in the toilet bowl. So that is after regular season, you have the playoffs for the winners and the playoffs for the losers. The person who comes last in the toilet bowl is doing the combine, not the person who comes last in the regular season. Yeah. And then also for max PF, max points, so in terms of the draft order, the person who comes last in the regular season with max PF gets first overall pick and upwards. So that's within the regular season, not including playoffs. Yeah. Probably just worthwhile clarifying some of that. Any other points that we need to kind of clarify, just for those people that have carried on listening?
No, I think it's just the max points is regular season. It's quite key. I think people will think that rolls over into playoffs. But it doesn't. That's quite key. I think with the trade deadline as well, I think we need to check whether it's the start of week 12 or the end of week 11.
It's the end of week 11. That's why I shared on the picture of it.
But is the end of week 11 the first game week in week 12? If you know what I mean, is that
no.
Does it run up into the Thursday? Because I think on the old NFL app it was it was Thursday.
I don't believe so. So because I wanted to triple check it, so I sent that thingy and it says select the final week to allow trades for your fantasy season. Trades must be accepted prior to the end of the final game of your selected week.
Final game, okay.
Yeah. So that Monday night football, as soon as that whistle goes for the end of the game on Monday, Tuesday morning, that trade deadline's gone.
Yeah, so we've got basically the end of Monday, haven't we?
Yeah.
Before we go to bed, which is
Next
fair.
Monday.
Yeah. So we're probably going to have to put a cut off on that because we're going to be in bed by 10 o'clock probably on a Monday, aren't we? So if someone does a trade at midnight on Monday and we don't accept it, or whatever, or we could accept it next day. It's true.
Yeah, as long as we can see when it's on there, you can go back on the hours. And let's be honest, I'm going to be up with Max anyway, won't I? Let's be honest.
No,
So a couple of things to clarify there. Good chat. I guess the final piece just before we go then is we've talked about middle of the road. Let's just get your thoughts on who's winning it, who the Super Bowl is, who's coming last, and who's in the toilet bowl.
So I think the Super Bowl is Shane and Will.
Ooh.
I think they've got two solid teams, good enough to put points, especially with Kyler Murray coming back with Will. I think it's a big bonus.
Donkey's going to have a fucking hard on hearing that.
And I think Shane wins it because I think his team is stronger. Bottom in terms of, you mean as max points bottom?
Yeah. No. Toilet bowl and who wins the toilet bowl?
The toilet bowl, I think, is probably going to be you and Tua, because I think that would be quite funny. I think you probably prevail on that.
Interesting. As in, I prevail and I come 11th.
You beat Tua and Tua comes bottom.
Yeah. Okay. Interesting. And then I guess the only final thing is, I reckon. What's the final thing? No, that's probably it, isn't it? Probably anything else from you at all?
No. Do you want to say who you think could win?
Yeah, go on then. I think Shane versus Ollie Super Bowl. And that's with the caveat of I think Ollie makes moves within the next week and a bit. I think Shane wins. Still think Shane wins. I think toilet bowl, I think, could be me and Flops.
Oh, that'd be interesting.
That
would be interesting.
Again, with the caveat of Flops loses his head, sows up to fuck, and then has no team left. So I'm kind of banking on personalities on both of those picks there more than anything. But I could see that happening. And I think in terms of that playoff finish, I do think I think your team's got enough. I think you'll make playoffs. I can see Dan dropping out of playoffs. I really can. So I think I'm going to go in playoffs. Tim, Will, Ollie, Shane, you, and I think I'll go AP. I think for playing in the final game.
It's tough.
All right.
Right. There we go. It is 3 minutes to 6 o'clock on Sunday, so we're going to go and sit in front of the TV until midnight. Best of luck with the Falcons against the Cardinals. No luck needed against the Giants.
Easy win for you. I'll prepare my heart attack, and I'll see you on the other side.
Yep, Bijan for 40 points, I think. Right, thanks everyone. Cheers for joining us, and we're going to close it there. Thank you.
Bye-bye.